Hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. Um, it's sort of tax day, but not really for any of our accountants who might be out there. Um, welcome to our business growth series. If you don't know, am your host, Donna Miller, and I am the Chief Visionary Officer at C3 Workplace, and I'll tell you more about that later. But the C3 stands for Connect, Collaborate, Community. We really believe in the power of connecting. We believe in the power of collaborating, and we know that builds community. And so I am delighted to be here today with my colleague Lynn Shaver. We are a strategic partner, or we are strategic partners, C3 Workplace and ICFNJ. And I'll talk about strategic partnerships as we go through this presentation today on influence, and partnerships is certainly part of that. But Lynn, let me bring Lynn to the stage. And Lynn, why don't you say a few words and tell us what's going on at ICF New Jersey these days?
Thank you, Donna. It's so great to be here again. And we so appreciate this series that you've been doing on business growth. It's been really phenomenal and great information, and our members are really enjoying it. So we thank you for that. And it's a great strategic partnership. I was thinking today that I wanted to remind everyone on the call today that ICF New Jersey has a website, icf-nj.org. And that's a great place to go to find what's going on currently in terms of events on our calendar. And I just want to highlight for everyone, in addition to the end of the month where we're having an April 28th book club discussion on the book, The Conversation, which talks about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We have coming up International Coaching Week in May, which is a big, huge event that happens every year all across the world. This year it's May 17th to the 21st. And we have events planned for almost every day that week. Donna, you're actually on our schedule for that week. So that Thursday, you'll be talking about top 10 tips for QuickBooks. So we're very excited to have you be a part of this opportunity to remind the world, or let the world know, that there's coaches out there and we bring a lot of value. So please take a look at our schedule, everyone. We have some great events planned for then. And Donna, thanks for the opportunity to say hello. And I really appreciate this collaboration that we're doing together.
Absolutely. Thank you, Lynn. And somebody just said in the chat that my voice sounds grainy. Can I get some feedback? Ha 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 ha, pun intended. In the chat, do I sound okay? I sound grainy? You sound grainy. Okay, I'm going to try to fix that. Give me a moment.
Is that better? I'm losing my headset.
Yeah, I think that's better.
Is that better? Okay, so I will eliminate the headset that you can barely see because I have so much hair.
Lucky you.
All right, so tiny bit of housekeeping before we shut our video off and get into the presentation. You are all being recorded. We have a pretty good sized crowd here, so use the chat window. I will do my best job to monitor the chat window and present. It's always important to me to create an interactive experience when I'm doing a webinar. So the first thing I want to ask you is, before we jump into the content, you signed up for this webinar, The Power of Influence. We had a little descriptor on what the power of influence means. I know what it means to me, but talk to me in the chat window about what you are hoping I will cover today. In the land of consultative selling, it's always about trying to manage expectations. If I can turn a straight line into a curved line and cover exactly what you came here to hear, that's what I'm going to do. All of that said, I will also have time at the end of the presentation for some solid Q&A. So whether you put a question in now, whether you put a question in while I'm going through my presentation, or you save it till the end, I will do my best to get to everyone's questions. So you don't need to see me, you see me plenty. So I'm going to shut my video off and we're going to focus on the presentation. So what's an easy formula for putting together a brand statement? I will come back to that, Lynn. Okay, so let's just recap where we've been. During this business growth series, we've done masterclass part 1 and 2. Part 1 was the one-page business plan. Part 2 was the behavior. You should all have a masterclass workbook. If you don't have that, let me know. I'll put it up in the follow-up email to this event. But the truth is, this is about learning and applying it. So as you hear what we're talking about today, decide what your action items are going to be, and I will point out a few that I recommend. Okay, let's jump in by playing a little game I like to call Name That Brand. Okay, you know that face, right? That face is Virgin Atlantic Airlines. It's the face of Richard Branson. He's built a very, very recognizable brand, and his personality is carefree, it's adventurous, and he actually evokes the feeling of wanting to travel. And boy, who doesn't want to travel now? Can I get some love in the chat window? Oh my goodness, I can't wait to take a real vacation again. But he represents his brand, and he is the face of his brand. And then there is, I like to call her Little Miss Homemaker, Martha Stewart. She has an amazing brand, creativity, crafty. She's like a perfectionist that keeps things almost out of our reach, and it keeps us coming back for more. Very strong brand. In fact, her very strong brand survived her brief stint in prison. That is a very strong brand. And then there is, I don't know, we need a new name, but then there is Oprah Winfrey, the brand of all brands. She's down to earth, even though she's a gazillionaire, she's down to earth, she's relatable. We still think she's approachable. It's kind of an amazing thing that she's built this mega brand that still has such relatability for all of us. And Oprah Winfrey shows up as a servant leader. Think about how many careers she has launched. Dr. Phil, Rachel Ray, Nate Berkus, the list goes on and on and on. So personal branding. Oh, and then there's the Donna Miller brand. So perhaps I'm not a household name, but I do have ambition, and stay tuned. For the last, well, actually it's over 26 years now, we've helped thousands of companies to start and grow. We do that by providing on-demand office space out of 2 locations, all kinds of back office, infrastructure, administrative, project management, bookkeeping. And now I spend my time purely on business growth consulting. That's what I do. I have reduced my role at C3 Workplace to Chief Visionary Officer. I have a team that's running that company. I'm focusing on the consulting. And here's the thing. Each of us on this webinar, we may do different things, but at the end of the day, in order to grow our practice or our business, we all have to be solution providers, not salespeople. Because the truth is, you cannot sell, you have to get people to buy. Big difference. And here's what else I know for sure. Does that sound like any familiar branding to any of you? Yes, I stole that directly from Oprah Winfrey. But here's what I know for sure. If you don't stand for something, you will fall for everything. And that is in your personal life, your business life, in every area of your life. Your personal brand, which is going to be the foundation for your influence, is rooted in what you stand for. If you haven't seen it, it's on our website. Enjoy the Simon Sinek 18-minute TED Talk, which goes over the concept of people do business with why you do what you do more so than what you do. Creating that values connection is really powerful. And so get very clear on what you stand for. Action item number 1, identify your top 3 values. And that is going to go into developing your mission, values, vision statement, which we've already talked about in our first 2 parts of this series. So identify those values. Your values are your foundation for confidence and authenticity, which is going to lead to influence, which is going to lead to many fabulous things that we'll talk about. So my values, why, thank you for asking. My top 3 values are faith, impact, and community. And these find their way into my mission, values, vision statement, and they show up in how I run and grow the business. I believe companies should be a force for good. I want to be that force. I want to have impact. I believe profit drives possibility. Charge what you're worth. I believe we're meant to raise up leaders, not just our children, but I believe everyone leads from exactly where they are. And I believe it is my job to help the next person along. And I rebranded my company on these beliefs about 7 years ago. And I can tell you with 100% certainty that I have grown more in the last 7 years than I did in the entire first 19 years. Being a values-driven organization is incredibly powerful, not only from driving influence, and your influence is going to drive your prospects, it's going to drive your referral sources, but guess what else? It's going to drive people wanting to work with you. So get clear on those values. It's really important to your process. And here's the truth. You are your brand. Whether you are working for an organization or you are on your own, there's a lot of debate when you have solopreneurs. Should I say we? Should I say I? And I could answer that question differently in different areas of your business. But here's the truth. You are your brand, good, bad, or indifferent. Remember, you cannot sell, they have to buy. They are so much more informed than ever before. We've got all our Dr. Google experts, you know, they come up with an idea in their head, and even though you're the expert at, I don't know, executive leadership, they think they can become an expert at executive leadership by Googling it. The truth is, our prospects are smarter than they used to be. They are more informed when they come to us. They are farther along in their decision-making process by the time you actually talk to them. So your brand story has got to help you to stand out. And we talked about this in earlier segments as far as compelling messaging and finding out your differentiating factors. Your website, your social media presence, and all that you do needs to revolve around your brand story. When I come back on video, you'll see I'm in my home office. Well, my home office looks exactly like my office in my office because part of our brand is the look. You want that to be consistent as you go along. I mentioned, you know, Martha's brand survived her prison stint. The other thing your brand does is your brand precedes your entry into the room or the conversation. If you're doing a really good job with your brand, it's got you in rooms you're not even attending. Now, if we can't sell, what is a smart, successful individual like you supposed to do? Great question. Our role, if we can't sell, is to accelerate their buying process. We have to focus on what's in it for them, not what's in it for me, what's in it for them, what's important to them, what's important to you doesn't really matter. This is where it gets really important to surround yourself with people who tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. Now, I've spoken to a lot of coaches in the last couple of months who booked their complimentary consult with me, and some of you are doing pro bono work. And I think that's great, but there is value that you can pull out of that pro bono work. You can gain great information on what you need to be talking to your target market about, testing the messaging that you think is compelling, but given that they are your prospect, is it really compelling to them? So use that space to work on how you can message yourself. Are you guys looking at the right slide? Are you on the slide that says, because I see something in the chat window, is the presentation moving along with me? Can I get a yes or a no? Or...
Yes, it is.
Oh, thank you. Ah, a voice. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so what's in it for me? We talked our last entire webinar about behavior plan, and you can revisit that in the workbook. The idea is we want to create a pull. We don't want to have to be pushing, and we want to own the room, the in-person room, the virtual room, and even the room you're not in. How, you ask? Great question. I love when all of you ask great questions. Okay, confidence. Confidence is your secret sauce. You know, we're all coming through COVID, and, you know, my little quote up here, I wrote this long before COVID. I believe challenges build character. You push through it. That builds confidence. When I search on Amazon for books on confidence, over 40,000 books. If you Google how to build confidence, I found over 351 million responses. So confidence is at the core of all of this. It's the accelerator to what you're doing. And, you know, when I was in high school, I remember this gal who was not particularly smart, not particularly gorgeous, but boy, she could get any guy she wanted. And I used to kind of scratch my head like, what is that? And I now understand that she was confident. And in high school, that was a total standout. And I'm here to tell you, confidence is still a total standout. It's magnetic, it's influential, it sells, it opens doors, and it closes. And I know that's easier said than done, but I also believe confidence is a practice. We're all born rock stars, you know, we're young kids, and you see these YouTube videos and they're up on a stage and they're just all out there. And then life kind of kicks us in the butt a little bit, and we really have to work to become a rock star again. And let me tell you a little bit about my story, and you may relate to some of this. I happen to come from a middle-class blue-collar family, 5 kids. My dad worked somewhat sporadically. My mom had to juggle, robbing from Peter to pay Paul. And frankly, a college education was not a discussion at my dinner table. So when I graduated from high school, I did what I guess Sheryl Sandborn said, which was I kicked the crap out of Plan B. Boy, did I ever. I went to work as a secretary, but God had greater plans for me. I had some deep-rooted ambition and some God-given talent, and I did well. In fact, frankly, I did better than most of my college graduate peers. When I opened my business 25 years ago, failure simply was not an option. But I certainly still had way more than my fair share of insecurities. Who was I to open a company equipped only with a high school education? Turns out, who wasn't I? And the reason I tell you this is because those self-doubts and those insecurities are what laid the foundation for me creating a confidence practice that really elevated my career and helped to move me along. So I'm going to tell you about a few things on this slide, but you're going to need to make your own practice. You have to figure out what works for you. I'm only ever sharing what has worked for me, and you take it and make it your own. So first of all, I will say, for me, confidence is rooted in competence. Let me repeat that. Confidence is rooted in competence. Whether that means being really good at what you do, and you should be, because I do not believe you can BS your way into being a thought leader. Be a student for life. That is my number one. I may only have a high school degree, but trust me, I have an MBA in growing businesses that can run without you involved in the day-to-day. I am very well read, and I always probably over prepare when I have something to do. But by over preparing, I walk in and I look like it took no effort at all. That's confidence. That's confidence rooted in competence. For me, the other part of confidence is I start my day in prayer, gratitude, and I set my positive intentions for the day. Every day I have a goal and an intention. Today, my goal is to change one person's life for the better. I hope that's you. And today's intention is to fully show up. That's what I do. I also have worked with affirmations, which I have recently upgraded to declarations. If you need to know what they are, email me. That's kind of a whole other conversation. The other piece of it is absolutely staying healthy. exercising. I have lost 100 pounds in the last couple of years. I had to do some serious behavior to make that happen. And I have to continue to do the things that will keep me there, because I know that makes me feel better. It gives me more confidence. And I mentioned this before, but you need to sit at a table with people who lift you up. Get all that negativity out of your life. It will not serve you. Hang around with the people who lift you up and tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. Now, we also have a superpower, all of us. We are entrepreneurs. We are business builders. We've taken this leap of faith. You have the ability to figure it out. You've done it again and again and again. And what I want to encourage you to do is to work that muscle, and also acknowledge yourself and that table that you're sitting at, those people that are raising you up, those people that are telling you what you need to hear. Point it out in each other. I am sure every day you figure something out. So action item number 2, what will your confidence practice look like going forward? And honest to goodness, I stand before you with increased confidence that I worked for. I created this confidence. It did not come remotely close to naturally, and you can too. And the confidence is the foundation for amazing and compelling story. I mentioned before, confidence and authenticity are the foundation for your compelling story, your personal brand, the way you connect. Maya Angelou says, people will forget what you did, they will forget what you said, but they will remember how you make them feel. Now, again, I mentioned earlier, we do different things, but here's the thing. If you are a professional service firm, if you are trying to connect with other people, chances are these people are coming to you with a desire to improve something. For me, when I'm having conversations with my potential consulting clients, they're coming to me because something's not working. Their top line isn't what they want it to be. Their bottom line isn't what they want it to be. They have no work-life integration. Usually, frankly, it's a combination of all three. That is sacred space. That is space filled with pain. And I need to make them feel like it's okay to not be okay. And I need to make them feel like I am going to be in this with them. So understand that the space you operate in, if you're trying to create solutions, is really sacred space for making that connection where someone feels heard by you. And this is the basis for your story. And ultimately, it's really the basis for your legacy. Soapbox moment. Okay. Cultivating your story. Your story is your path to influence. Now, basically, story is 3 simple things. It's keeping it short. It's telling it in story format. That's linear content. Don't show up and throw up. It's a terrible thing. We don't want all your information. And when possible, use visuals, because the brain can process visuals so much faster. And the thing is, you're going to have to invest time to create your story. In my opinion, you should have a library of stories. They should be very rehearsed so they come across 100% spontaneous. You might have one story for a mixed crowd. You might have another story for a niche market. You might have a 30-second story and a 2-minute story and a 5-minute story. Your story sets you apart. And if you don't know where to start on building your story, and I think you should do this no matter what, identify a few worthy rivals to follow, companies, people that you aspire to be, and see what they're saying and how they're saying. And this is also another way we talked about in prior webinars about where to develop your compelling messaging. Ultimately, it's about doing, taking action and execution. It's about identifying the 20% of what you do that will drive 80% of your results. And then when you start to feel overwhelmed, and this honestly happens to me all the time, it's about determining what the single next right thing to do is. And I can tell you, your next right thing will always include budgeting and blocking time to work on your business and not just in your business. And trust me, story is a big part of you working on your business. And as I mentioned, everyone has a story. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about my story. I had my first job, right out of high school, and then 25 years, and I was there for a whole bunch of years, and for a number of reasons, including my mom passing away, I wanted to make a change. So I went to work for this teeny tiny shared office facility who had an absentee owner, loved the autonomy, fish to water on that one. The compensation was low, but I got a nice chunk of the profits. And then I filled the place up, and the only way I could make more money was to get more revenue from individual clients. So I started adding on services, and the business did very well. We also had a handshake deal that he would sell me that business. Did I mention handshake deal? Yeah, don't do that. I offered, he refused, even though I was devastated. Turned out to be a big blessing, which is a lesson that's happened to me several times in my life. I wrote a business plan. You already heard me wax on about that one in session number 1. I wrote a business plan, and I opened my company 1.2 miles from where he used to be located. I did everything, even though I had a partner and an employee. Instead of it getting easier as I grew, anybody experiencing this? It got harder because I became an unbelievable micromanager. So it became apparent that either I was going to have to change or throw in the towel. So I began the process of letting go to grow, which, by the way, is our topic of our webinar in our growth series in June. I began letting go to grow, and I began to build an organization that would run without me. I became a leader, not a manager. I wanted to build a company that would truly fund the life of my dreams and fulfill my need to have an impact. And most of my clients are striving for the same thing. There's that sacred space again. Your story is your opportunity to connect with your target market. It's not about your education, it's about your story. So, how lucky am I? I get to help people through what I painfully and very expensively went through. It's authentic, it's compelling, it connects. You'll have to figure out your story, and that is another action item for you. Work on your library and listen. Record it on video. That is another gift of COVID. We all instantly had to get more comfortable with video. Well, now I want to encourage you to take that comfort to another level. Okay. So this is the thing I really, really, really don't want you to do. We're going to get back to face-to-face networking soon. Do not be the person that walks around a networking event, say you're servicing everyone and you're handing out business cards. Again, remember, you can't sell, they have to buy. Be a go-giver. Okay, your personal brand building formula is building your confidence, telling your story, and that is going to lead to influence. In order to produce better results, this is what you need to do. And remember, we can't sell, they buy. What did Maya Angelou say? She said, people remember how you make them feel. Your networking, whether it's online or offline, is about identifying potential centers of influence. Who's running the event? Who's speaking at the event? Who's sponsoring the event? Those are the people you really want to connect with. Be strategic about your networking. Make sure you have a goal. Make sure you have a CRM system. We can help with that if you don't, to be following up, to nurture these leads. And one thing I know for sure is, just like you need to build your influence, you need to connect with other influencers, right? Makes sense. So building influence is your number 1. Why? So everybody in the chat window right now, give me a reason of why you think you need to accelerate your influence. What is the power of influence? Some of you have already asked questions. Okay, I need some love in the chat window, people. Why do you need the power of influence? Anybody watch Jeopardy? Connect with other influencers. That's true, Connie. That is absolutely true. What else? Why else is influence important? It makes you credible. Yes, it does, Lynn. And if you're credible, what happens then? People want to work with you. relationships, and knowing who you are, your brand. It feels great. What happens when it feels great, bro? That's what you attract into your life. Where you put your attention is where you generate energy. It creates legacy. Yes, it does. Those are all really great answers, but the one I'm looking for, the power of influence, number one word. What do you think it might be? Anybody got it? You've all heard me rant before. In fact, Debbie Walpole, if you're on here, you know the answer to this. Revenue. Close. Revenue is very close. Referrals. The power of influence. Influence drives referrals. When we talked about behavior, when we talked about business planning, we talked about your close ratio on referrals being 70, 80, 90%. Talk about working smarter. You need to drive referrals. And trust me, influence is driving referrals. So influence drives referrals. Referrals drive your practice forward, period. There is no doubt about it. I'm 100% sure of that. I get referrals every week. I barely network anymore. But beyond that, exactly, have your network be your sales force. Debbie Walpole, there you are. I knew you had it. And Debbie does merchant services. If you don't accept credit cards, you need to talk to her. If you do accept credit cards, you need to talk to her because she's amazing and she will save you money and improve your cash flow. And that's what Circle of Influence do for each other. They plug each other. So beyond driving referrals, driving your business forward, guess what else influence does? It accelerates the know, like, trust process. People take your calls. People say yes when you ask them to collaborate. Organizations reach out to you and say, hey, do you think you could be a strategic partner? Your people are talking about you. They are driving referrals. You are creating raving fans. Influence means better results. And Kelly, yes, influence means more revenue. Influence has you in the room before you arrive. It has you part of the conversation when you are not there. It is your personal brand at work. Trust is more easily earned through your network. Absolutely. But how, Donna? How, you ask? Great question. Guess what? Influence is also a practice. Just like confidence, you might pull some of those things out of your confidence practice into your influence practice. But influence is rooted in how you make people feel. So again, be confident. Now think of it this way. Your competence fuels your confidence. And now take that knowledge and share what you're learning. Now you're a thought leader. Remember, confidence and sharing that information is really important. Learn together, share that knowledge. This is the root of content marketing, and there are a gazillion ways to do content marketing, and that is a whole other conversation, but obviously this webinar is content marketing. Be a servant leader. I mentioned that Oprah is a servant leader. I show up every day to try and make a difference. Be a go-giver. If you haven't read the book, read the book. Volunteer, speak, lead. These organizations that you belong to, don't just be a participant. Be a thought leader. Be a volunteer. Fully show up. Did I mention that earlier? Yes, I did. Be a connector. C3, connect, collaborate, community. Live it, breathe it. Be a go-to resource. So when you're out there networking, you're not just looking for you, you're looking for everyone you know. I get an email every day. You can consider this too. This has nothing to do with the topic, although it does. There is a website called Help a Reporter Out, and you can sign up to get alerts for when reporters are looking for experts in certain areas. I've been published in the Wall Street Journal, in Thrive Global, all because I follow this. Now what I do is if I see something for someone in my circle of influence that would help them, I send it to them. How much are they going to remember the fact that I shared a press opportunity with them? So be a go-giver, network to be a resource, be thinking of your prospects and your potential influencers and your potential strategic partners when you're out there networking and looking at different things. Building your personal influence will absolutely catapult your brand. And I believe the number one way to accelerate your influence and grow your business is Hint, hint, it's in my name. Anybody got it? It's collaboration, baby. This is a superpower as well. Debbie's been to like every webinar I've ever done. Okay. At the end of the day, it's about driving dollars. For each of you, that means developing centers of influence who can drive referrals. Collaboration is another superpower that you can either embrace or reject. Some people see the world as a competitive landscape. I see it as a collaborative landscape. I know that there's plenty out there for everyone. So I would encourage you to identify opportunities to collaborate. Do it strategically, right? Strategically means, y'all have heard me a few times before, have a written plan. So if you want to collaborate, who am I? What do I bring to the table? Who do they need to bring? What will that, how will that help the situation? And then the most important part is, how do these two parties working together create massive value for our shared target market? In other words, how do you create a strategic partnership where 1 + 1 = 5 or 1 + 1 = 10? Of course, a strategic partnership is going to give you expanded reach. It's going to give you more experience, but how do you make it a blow it out of the water value for your shared target audience? So that's really what this is about. So again, if you're bringing massive value to the table, people are going, wow, she like really knows what she's talking about. And look how she organized that strategic partnership. And by the way, how you ask for a referral or how you ask for someone to collaborate or strategically partner with you, if you do it in a thought out professional manner, guess what? They think of you as a professional. They don't think of you as somebody who, you know, kind of gave them an idea on a cocktail napkin, right? You've probably heard me say this before as well, but if it's in your head, it's an idea. If it's on paper, it's a plan. You execute plans. Ideas tend to be wishes. I'm ranting. I rant, don't I? I rant. Anyway. So there are many ways to collaborate. I mean, this right here is a collaboration with the International Coaching Federation of New Jersey. You can do events, you can do seminars, you can do networking, you can do social events, you can golf, you can host something, you could sponsor, you could do a podcast, you could do videos, you could do blogs. Did I mention getting overwhelmed? Yeah, pick a few and go deep. But part of might be, you know, sharing how you grew your business and sharing what's worked for you, sharing how you've worked on your confidence, sharing how you've overcome something. I do find that many successful business owners and entrepreneurs are overcomers by nature. That's probably part of your story. It's compelling. So, but here's another thing. It doesn't have to be complicated. Start a book club. I mean, Lynn, I love that you guys are doing a book. Start a book club. Or how about when we all get back to face, and isn't it funny how now conversations, I've had my 2 vaccines. Do you want to meet for lunch? It's like crazy that this is the conversation we're having. But as we all get back to face events, instead of doing a lunch with one person, how about this? Really simple. Invite 3 people that you know, that you think you might want to do business with, collaborate, maybe you want to be a strategic partner. And instead of doing a one-to-one, have 4 people at lunch. You invite those 3 people because you see some synergy. And I am telling you, synergy is where the magic happens. So you invite these 3 people. Now 4 of you are having lunch talking about things, and you could have some questions that will nicely uncover those synergies. You look like a thought leader. You look like a rock star. They are going to remember you. So consider doing foursomes instead of one-to-ones, and you can do it by Zoom as well. So build your personal brand, work on your story, build your confidence, build your influence, and remember, this is about playing the long game. You can't sell, they have to buy. Your personal brand is built on storytelling confidently, which leads to influence. And influence leads to, can I just say it? Influence leads to money, honey. I am telling you, it is the green brick road. And knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power. What are you going to do that we've gone over today? I want you to make a commitment to yourself, and I want you to put it in the chat window. What is at least one action item you will take from this webinar and put into motion so that you can begin to build your influence? So I really would love to see that in the chat window, and I will hold you accountable to it. How do you like that? Now, we have so much more coming up for you. We're going to get to Q&A in just a second. But, you know, I'm so proud of what we do at C3 Workplace and how we really help businesses to start and grow. And our upcoming calendar says so much. So I wanted to share our upcoming calendar with you. Next week, oh, and this is a story of influence. I will be collaborating, another strategic partner of mine, with NJBIA, New Jersey Business and Industry Association. They have asked me, through collaboration with Rachel Durkin at Paradigm Marketing and Design, I have been asked to facilitate a sales and marketing roundtable. So we're having our kickoff meeting next week. And when we were planning this about 6 weeks ago, we were like, let's really try and knock it out of the park. Like, who could we get to speak at that first event that would be really compelling? So we thought about asking a local Sandler sales trainer that we know, because Sandler sales, trust me, a lot of what I've learned and a lot of what I say to you, I learned in Sandler sales training. So we reached out to the local guy, but apparently he's retired and he has a non-compete. So I said to him, in true Sandler influency kind of way, I don't suppose you'd introduce me to Dave Mattson, the president of Sandler Global. Here's a little paragraph you can use. Again, be professional, make it easy for people. And the little paragraph said, you know, I'm a member of the Morris County Chamber Board, and I met him, and I don't suppose, well, long story short, 3 days later, Dave Mattson is our guest for our kickoff meeting. So April 20th, Sales and Marketing Roundtable. And even though you can't sell, we have to get them to buy. Sandler Sales is all about being solution oriented. It is absolutely not about selling. So it is, I have used that training not only in my professional life, but it's how I communicate with my children, with people in my life. It's pretty amazing. So sales and marketing, conversational connections once a month. In May, we talk about QuickBooks tips and tricks. And then in June, as I mentioned, we talk about letting go to grow, delegating. So that is my presentation for today. So I am going to turn the presentation off, turn my video on, and I'm going to take a look at the questions that you have. Let me stop my share. Let me start my video. Okay, so questions. I see action items. That's great. One of the questions we had early on was Elvira asked, I hope you can cover what influence means, how what I say is received, and how to tell if it is received the way I intended it to. Elvira, can I ask you to speak and tell us a little bit about that, that question, and if you got that question answered? Okay, Elvira is telling me in the chat window she got it covered. Okay, that's good, Elvira. And the thing is, I just want to make sure you heard this. Knowing, how will I know if what I said is received? The simple answer there is ask, and create these beta groups. If you're doing something new, create beta groups, create your own focus groups, fill those focus groups with those people who will tell you what you need to hear, not necessarily what you want to hear. That's so important. And I say that often because when you're first opening a practice or a business, everybody's rooting for you. It's fabulous. They all want you to win. And human nature means they're going to tell you what you want to hear. Finding people who don't do that. Okay, and then how do we determine which stories make sense? Great question, Richard. First of all, work backwards from your target market. Who is your target market? What is the pain that that target market is experiencing? And how does your solution via story address that pain? And then again, test it, practice it, use it with a few people. You might go, when we get face to face, you might go back to networking with two different little intros that you use, and you alternate at the event. and you see how they're received. Test and measure, document, test, measure. So, and Richard, if you need more help with that, I'm happy to do a one-to-one call, but basically determining what stories is working backwards from what will connect with your target market. Rose says, my first e-blast, oh, she's getting her out. That's an action item. Excellent. Accountability is a big piece of all this. Cassidy is a big piece of all this. How do you keep yourself accountable? That's a great question. I think different people have to do different things to keep themselves accountable. I personally, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, I have always had a coach or consultant of some type that keeps me on track with what I'm specifically doing. It might be that group of people that I mentioned, or sometimes if you're really having a hard time staying accountable, you can look for accountability partners on specific items. In my opinion, the best accountability is hiring outside help. There is a whole different mindset when you've got skin in the game and you're paying someone. So you might end up, if you're not at a point where you can afford to pay someone, you might find someone that you can barter with. But if you barter, which again, not a huge fan because I really want you to have skin in the game, but if you barter, exchange invoices, exchange checks. There is just something to actually forking over some money that makes you more accountable. So, and the other piece of accountability is having a very specific plan of what you're going to be doing. So what is the goal of the plan? What are the strategies of the plan? The way I keep myself accountable on a day-to-day basis is I time block. I time block everything on my calendar. And I also spend Sunday night time blocking my week. And not only am I time blocking what I have to do for work, I'm time blocking my exercise. I'm making sure I have meals in the house because, you know, I don't really want to eat out all the time. I also lately I've been time blocking inspiration and learning because that's so important to me. I want to make sure I get it done every week. So for me, my greatest accountability tool is my calendar. I hope that helps, Cassidy. Okay, so we're about to wrap up. Lynn, unmute yourself. You had a question about brand statement. Did we address that?
Yes, in the sense that I like the idea of the library stories, because I think that will get me to library of stories, because when you start to think about your story, then your brand tends to evolve, right? Because you.
Right. I think that's true. And the other thing I say is when you're beginning to write those stories, I'm a big journaler. I also recently got an electronic paper tablet, which I love. It's called Remarkable too. Love it. When you're writing those stories or journaling them or typing them, however you get them out, I encourage you early on to not edit yourself. Brain dump, brain dump, brain dump, brain dump. And the truth is, the stories will refine themselves, but the content might find a home somewhere other than what you're currently working on. And I also feel for me, if I'm in that creative mode, editing myself blocks my creative mode. So I just keep going. That's also why I personally need to create pen to paper. Once I put my fingers on the keyboard, I feel like I have to make corrections and my whole creative process kind of falls apart. So I think you have to play with what works for you. And the other piece about creativity and writing story, to me, this is the strategy work. This is the zone of genius work. This is how you tell the world what you're so amazing at. There is a time of day that it will work for you, and there's probably a time of day when it won't work for you. I tend to not only front load my days, I tend to get up at 4 or 5 a.m. and I'm pretty much done by 3. Don't ask me to do too much important after that. But I've also begun front loading my weeks. So again, you know, I've been at this a few decades. It's changed how I work over time. But I think you have to be aware of your creative process and when you are most easily able to slip into your zone of genius.
That's great advice. Thanks, Donna.
You're welcome. Okay. Any other questions before we wrap up? I'm going to go back through How do we term? You covered it. Working on storytelling. Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a great organization. Deb Walpov and I are participating. You might think I'm a good speaker, and I think I'm a pretty good speaker too, but truthfully, I can always get better. So I have joined Toastmasters. If you're interested in that, you can shoot me an email and I'll connect you. The Morris County Chamber is hosting a group. We meet twice a month for an hour. And they have someone who counts your ums and ahs. I mean, if you want to get good at this, it's a great forum. And I think it's something like $65 for 6 months. It's very reasonable. Okay. Anything else we need to cover before we wrap up? You're all going to work on your libraries of stories. That's great. I'm glad you think I have so much knowledge. Some days I feel like I do, some days not so much. Okay. So check out the C3 Workplace event page. We always have great things going on to help you start and grow. Can you please repeat your 6-month group? Was that Toastmasters? Stacy, was that it? You just put, yes, Stacy, it's Toastmasters. Toastmasters is a national organization. You can Google it. And when you join one chapter, you can visit other chapters. Right now, I think most of them are virtual. I'm really looking forward to it. So keep an eye on our calendar. ICF-NJ members, you have lots of benefits through this strategic partnership with C3 Workplace. You have a 3-month online membership to the Earn More program, which is where you'll find a lot of this stuff. You can have a one-to-one consult with me. Many of you have taken advantage of that, and I've really loved talking to you. I'm going to put my contact info in the chat window. You will also get a follow-up email from me, and I will put another link in that email follow-up to the workbook, the 1-page business plan. This baby walks you right through all of it. I'm all about creating systems that you can follow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if you're interested in talking to me about business growth consulting, happy to jump on a call. I'm sure you got this already. I am not a pressure person. If it makes sense for both of us, great. If not, I never take it personally. And I really am here to serve. It is my goal to help you build a business that funds the life of your dreams. Join us each month for these events. Lynn, thank you so much for your collaboration and your partnership. Thank you, all of you, for being here, and I will send out the recording in a couple of days. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks, Donna.
Thanks, Lynn. Take care.